Okay, so here we are. We're back again, and this is a thing that we're trying to really get groups of you together just to keep in touch through all this COVID madness. And so thanks for being part of it, guys. This will be the 4th interview, I think, that we've done in the series. And first up, we've got sponsors, Rare Surf T-shirts, Brett Stammers, thank you very much. Holly and Stuart Looking Smart, who help look after the club with clothing and things like that. So let's support those guys. Now, quickly introduce everyone. So we've got Scott and Riley. Just put your hands up, guys. There we go. Ted, who's going to be sharing the interviewing. We've got Brett and Boo, all the way from Apollo Bay. And Steve and Anne, all the way from Torquay. Pretty lucky to have Anne here.
We've got Betty as well, but she's hiding. She will. Okay. We'll drag her out.
Yeah, drag her out. Sounds good. All right. So the idea of this, guys, we're just asking some pretty general questions. We came up with a bunch of questions, so we're going to do it in each interview, and they seem to work okay. So I might start off. What we might do is start with Scott and Riley. So you can choose who goes first. But the first thing I want to ask is, I'll ask you first. I'll ask you 2 questions, okay? How long have you been surfing? And what was your first surfboard? Who made it?
Riley, you go first.
Well, I always went to the beach when I was little, but didn't really actually get into proper surfing maybe only 3 years ago.
Oh, four or
yeah,
five.
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
So Riley had his first surf, and he went out and had an accident, and the board, something happened, the board flipped around and the fin stabbed him in the leg and went right through the wetsuit into his leg. And that was it. He wasn't going near the surf or a surfboard again. So, yeah, that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we went through this process of gradually weaning him back into the water. And it started with the doing the clubby thing at Janjuk, the nippers, and getting him back into the water, and then onto a clubby board. And the first board we ever had made, funnily enough, I thought I'm not gonna get him back in to go straight into stand up. So we went to Dicko and we said, mate, I need a really cool little kids high performance knee board. Remember that? The black and red one.
Yeah,
and so Dicko made us this little thing he called the ACDC, which is this tiny little 4'1" quad fin knee board. And that was the first board Riley ever had, proper glass board. But it was a knee board. It was to get him back into the water and not be afraid of being stabbed by fins, basically. And so, and he kneeboarded for a while, and we did a trip around New Zealand. We hired one of those camper van things and circumnavigated the North Island of New Zealand. And we're at a place called Whangamata on the sort of northeast coast of the North Island. And this huge swell came in one day, and Riley and I paddle out, and on his little like 4'1" kneeboard thing, and Riley took off on this huge 6-foot bomb, and I turned around and I saw him standing up on the kneeboard, and I thought, there we go. So now he's surfing again. So that was, so you could say the kneeboard became the first surfboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Pretty rare to have a small that size up there.
Yeah.
Riley has to say when his dad's first started surfing.
Me? That would be giving away my age, Ted. long
Just
time
say
ago.
how old you were.
10, 9 or 10, down here at Juck. Yeah. So,
what was your first board, Scott?
A Bobby Brown.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful
Right.
thing. Yeah, airbrushed, and back in the early 80s, all that retro kind of colour and the pastel and with the double flyers and the swallowtail. Very, beautiful board. Bob Brown.
Sounds like one of Brett's boards.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my first board. Always remember it. I saved and saved and saved my guts out to buy it, and then when I got the first ding, I cried. So there you go.
All right, we might throw over to Brett
How
and
much
Boo.
happened to that board? Have you still got it?
No. Wouldn't it be awesome if you kept all the boards you used to have?
Bob will have it. It'll be in Bob's container. Don't worry. Brett and Boo.
Yeah, first, Boo.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, Brett said I'll go first. So, what was the question again? What was the first board you had?
How long have you been surfing? And what was your
how long
first?
have I been surfing? Well, I've been surfing now I was about 36, 37 when I started. So it was when we moved down to Apollo Bay. And so if I tell you how long that ago that is, you figure out how old I am.
Don't do that.
We're not that quick.
So I was a late starter. I did try in my 20s, but I didn't give it any real go. So, but yeah, no, I started when the boys started surfing because I knew that I'd be stuck sitting on the beach watching them have fun. So I thought, I'm going to get out there too. And it was funny because Brett said to me, first of all, I started sailing, and then he goes, if you like sailing, you're going to love surfing. And I'm like, yeah. But the minute I started surfing, that was it. It was like, see you later sailing. This is, yeah. So, and just been loving it ever since. The board I first rode on, started to learn to surf on, was one of your boards. It was a 7.6 strapper board.
Yeah. Steve Friedman flyer.
Friedman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
a thruster sort of semi-plank. It was a very flat sort of board. Made in the 80s, I think it probably was. Yeah.
So yeah. So we haven't got that board anymore.
It was traded in somewhere.
Surfboards are a hell of a lot cheaper than boats, Brett. Well done.
Yeah.
Steve Friedman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Steve Friedman's still making beautiful boards down at Cape Shank at the moment. Yeah. How about you, Chris?
It was one that was actually, I think that was made through strappers, I think, at the time. He might have been shaking for strapper. My first board, I started about, I think, 46 years ago or something like that. So I was about 7 when I started surfing at Williamstown Beach, and which is in Port Phillip Bay. And the first surfboard that I had that I used to drag down the beach with a bit of help was I don't know who made it, but it was like a longboard shape, but it was wood ply. So it was a bit like, and I think that in the day they used to call them paddle boards more so. So I don't know whether if they actually took paddles out with them or whether if they surfed them like the surfboards, this particular one. But it had like a deep fin on it. And I surfed that for a little bit while I could get somebody to help me drag it down the beach. And that ended up, that was actually given to me by friends of the family that gave that to us. And I haven't got that board anymore, but that was sort of a little bit like a Bob Cooper type of old board. And yeah, I learnt Williamstown Beach on that, and my first fiberglass surfboard was a Springer. I think it was probably about a 5'9" or something like that. Springer surfboard. That was a little bit later on. That came after the Midget Farrelly with the rubber fin and the pipeline in 1974, I think it was. So I had a plastic pipeline, which was, they're still kicking about now. The one that I had, a surfboard actually, a longboard flipped over and landed on top of it and broke the fin, snapped the fin right off, and I was just shattered that day because I didn't know how to put another fin in there or anything like that. But I used to ride that quite a lot, and it was pretty good on dings, but if you broke a fin, you were in trouble.
Yeah. Good on you. That is Betty. Hey, Betty. So we might throw over to the Stevens household, guys. So how long have you been surfing, each of you? And can you remember your first surfboard?
I'll start. I actually started surfing in England. I lived in Cornwall, and I'd always wanted to surf, but it always seemed like something I could never do because I grew up in Mildura, long way from the ocean, and thought, well, I'm never going to learn to surf. But I went and worked in England for a while and lived in Cornwall, and everyone was learning to surf. So it was like, oh, I can do this. So my first surfboard was made by Steve, and it was called Best Ever. Surfboard from Cornwall. And it was a 7.6 mini Mal. It was bright iridescent green. And actually I never learnt to surf on it. I just used to ride whitewater with everybody else. And then I was probably about 28 then. And then I came back to Australia and then I moved to Torquay when I was 38, and that's when I really, started to learn to surf.
Okay.
And my first surfboard here was a strapper board, an 8-foot strapper board.
Excellent.
Over to you.
Steve, Betty.
Have you still got it, Anne?
The strapper, no.
No,
and I don't have the best ever. I would actually really love the best ever. But, well, I actually brought it home. I actually tried to get it in a London taxi. I was in London and I tried to get it in one of those black. Anyway, it didn't fit. But anyway, so that was the end of that.
Hey, just while Brett was talking about surfing inside Port Phillip Bay, can I have a hands up who have surfed in the bay?
Never. Really?
We had a few in the last interview, and it's pretty common deal. I mean, I know Bob and all those guys, the Trigger Brothers. So many people who live down here all grew up surfing from Chelsea through Brighton, Albert Park, all those areas.
Can we do that again? I didn't see how many hands went up. Who surfed in the bay to start with?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Desperate time.
I tried to surf in the Murray River. That didn't work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I still surf.
Steve and Betty.
I don't know. You know everything.
No, you say.
When did you start surfing?
I don't know.
She doesn't know.
Betty's been mucking around for about 5 years, maybe 6 years. I used to take both the girls out on a great big stand-up that I had at Cozy, and I could pull both of them up to their feet, and the three of us could ride waves when they were little. And my earliest memory of Betty surfing like that, one day we took off on a wave at Cozy, and it was actually about waist high, and I lost it with both the kids, and they both went off. And I think Betty was about 4 and Jess was 5, and it was deeper than their heads. So Betty just lay there and relaxed while Jess
actually had a bit of a meltdown. But Betty was quite relaxed with it.
Yeah.
And Mum was watching on the shore. I actually was with some old friends' parents. They're about 80, watching the whole thing happen. Having a mainline little panic. But anyway.
What about boards?
First surfboard.
Betty's used to Holly for hand-me-downs, and I've had rushes of blood, and I've bought a good shortboards that she won't ride because she doesn't really enjoy it that much. But what's that one you got now that you ride most of the time? It's an 8-footer. Just an 8.0 mini mouse style board, which is like a 10-footer for her, which works as a good board.
Yep. Cool. Good on you, Betty. Okay, Steve.
Well, I learned.
Are you ready for the long story?
I won't do this.
No,
Yeah.
So I grew up in Tathra, up in New South Wales, where you could swim a bit longer and a bit earlier than down here. And as a whole bunch of kids, we all learn on foamies. We started off on those full foam foamies with the foam fin when we were about 7 or 8, and then we got onto the Hanamex foamies with the black plastic fin. And the first fiberglass board I had,
Wow.
okay.
which I got from a 12th birthday, I think it was a 6.6 reef fluid.
Put it back, Anne. Can you show us again?
I just want to show you the face. Can you see the little face? Can we? I don't know if we can. Maybe no.
It's
No,
okay.
that's it. That'll do.
See it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it was a single fly swallowtail, single fin, 6.6. But I remember the first go I had on a board maybe 6 months before that on a fiberglass board, and I couldn't believe how it flew out from under my feet and was so fast, because as kids we'd been riding foamies that had that fabric on them and they just had so much drag. So you were always on your front foot to try and not go over the front. And then all of a sudden the fiberglass board just flew out from under your feet. So, and that board lasted a fair while. I don't know where it's ended up now.
Well, I guess like everyone, I wish I had my first board, but it wasn't mine, so probably we actually found it. Sort of. Okay, so I might just do another quick round. I'm just going to ask, I might just go in the same order again. We'll start with Scott and Riley, and I just want to ask you, what is the one longboard manoeuvre that you would really love to master?
Probably roundhouse cutback for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can't you can't do it? You can do it now, can't you?
Well, yeah.
You
but I
can
can't
do
really-
everything, Riley.
I can't really get like the rebound off the whitewash.
Ah.
So to be able to get like that full extension off the whitewash.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Scott?
So I've sort of started on the more traditional logging and cross-stepping, and for the last 12 to 18 months, I've really been watching a lot of YouTube videos of wingnut and stuff. And I got an old, big old round treated pine log and put some star pickets in, and we've been practicing walking up and down on top of the log and stuff. And I really want to do a full-on hang 10, but for longer than a second, just to feel like you're floating. That feeling of you're just like flying on top of the wave. You're not actually on a surfboard. So that's ultimately where I'd like to get to on the logging stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Boo?
Roundhouse cutback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Brett?
Yeah, I don't know. Just try not to fall off. Yeah. I think that's it, basically. For me, I can't think of anything that I was sort of, yeah, that's about it.
Not one thing in particular. I mean, you handle your board pretty well as it is.
Yeah, no, I think it's just pretty much just trying to get to my feet and just stay on. My knees are getting a little bit weaker now, so I noticed that they buckle underneath me when I go to do a couple of turns, but I just basically not falling off. That's my favourite one.
Okay.
No defying age.
Yeah, that's it,
Exactly.
yeah.
I might ask Betty, what manoeuvre would you really love to master in longboarding?
I don't know.
you take off?
I know.
Don't know. It will come.
Just surf.
Yeah. Good. Steve.
I reckon the hardest thing to do on a longboard is actually get right in trim. And if it was like a traditional longboarding thing, I'd love to be able to just be able to get in trim on a mal more easily. Because I reckon that's the hardest thing to do, I reckon.
So for you, Anne.
Oh, I just want to carve more. I think just actually get on an edge rail. Get on my rails more.
Okay. That's really interesting. It's first group that haven't mentioned nose riding. Well, actually, no, Scott, you were talking about hanging 10. Another one that came up in the last group too was the Laney style drop knee turn.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm
Nice.
total awe of. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be 5 foot nothing though to do them properly. So
He doesn't have a long way to bend down, really, does he?
No, that's right. Hey, Laney. Hey, Ted, do you want to do any questions at all?
Yep. Okay, so can I just point out that we're coming up for 40 minutes and this might cut out, which is okay. All right, so I just wanted to, I might ask a couple of questions at once so people can answer it. So I'm going to start with Riley and Scott. What I want to know is, so it's about 3 questions here, is why are you interested in longboarding, or how did you get interested? Did anyone sort of teach you, or how did you learn how to longboard? And this is the 3rd question. I know it's 3 at once, so you probably have to remember them. And is there any memories of why you actually joined the Surfcoast Longboarders? So Scott or Riley, go first.
Right. So why do you like longboarding, or why do you do longboarding?
What made you start, or why do you like it?
What made you start? From me. Dad forced me to.
No.
Don't say that.
Well, I guess, I don't know, as I was getting into surfing, I saw Hugh really getting into it, doing the Surfcoast Longboarders and everything. And as I started to surf more, I don't know, I thought it'd be cool to try it, and I don't know, probably just followed him. So I just took the same steps he did.
What was the second question, Ted? So why do you like it?
Yeah. I think this is the second question. I can't remember now. Was there? How did you learn? Did someone teach you, or were you coached?
Yeah, I taught you.
Yeah, Dad pretty much taught me everything.
Yeah. And why did you join the longboarders? Because I made you.
Well, what do you get out of it? It doesn't have to be why.
What do you get out of it?
Well, I remember when I was getting surfing, I came along to one to just watch Dad and Hugh. I know.
Yeah.
And I came along and it looked really cool. Everybody was having fun. Music was playing. Yeah.
Yeah, music was playing. It was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
It was non-intimidating.
Yeah. It was inviting and everything.
Inviting.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Well done. Yeah, good word, inviting. Yeah. Why? Because I can't stand up on shortboards anymore. What was the second? Oh, God, see, memories go. I can't stand up. I can't remember. What was the second? Oh, right. Nobody taught. No, it was just teach yourself kind of thing. Started with performance longboards and just surfed longboard like a shortboard, which is not really longboarding, and then sort of moved into the more logger style and progressed from there. So when we moved down here, it's about 20 years ago now, and I just wanted to meet people, and it was, thought, oh, what a great, I can't remember, I saw a sign somewhere in a milk bar or something, and joined and got to know Laney, and the president back then was this big hairy dude, looked like a biker, really scary guy, I forget his name. Anyway, who?
Brett will probably know. I think he was judging at the last contest.
Oh,
Who was the president about 20 years ago, Brett? I don't know. Anyway.
20 years ago. Not, not Nettleton's, no.
Yeah, could be.
Was it Luke Nettleton?
Lou Nettleton.
Yes, that was him. Yes. And anyway, and I just got to meet a lot of people. I met all you guys, Rochi and you guys, and it just became a really cool thing. And then when the boys started doing it, they, started surfing. They were on shortboards, and they did a couple of comps at the Torquay, Torquay board riders, on shortboards, and it was really aggressive, really. It's just a terrible feeling, and the parents are all psyching up their kids, go out there and smash them, go out there and kill them, And I just, and my boys, they're not competitive like that. And so I rang Laney, and I said, how young do they have to be? Like, how old do they have to be before I can bring them into the club, And Laney said, well, if they can surf and they can swim. So I think we had you in there about 11 or something, 10, like that, yeah. 10 years old. And I just said, well, come and surf in the longboarders. And if you like it, then you can get better at longboarding. And they came along, and as Riley said, there's music playing and everybody's friendly, and they paddle out and everybody's calling them into waves and cheering them on. And they came back in, and they were just grinning from the two boys, just grinning from ear to ear, and went, oh, that's it. We're not going back to the board ride. We just want to do this. And so they've been there ever since. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
It's just been a great thing for them, It's been a great environment, and everybody's like mentors to them, I mean, all of you guys and the older guys in the club, and they just see it as a great place. And it's a wonderful thing for a father to see your kids who are 12 going around and having, adult conversations with 50-year-olds and talking to them, and the 50-year-olds are talking to them and saying, how did you go? Did you enjoy it? It's a really cool thing to see. And that's what the club means to us.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for that, Scott. What I'm going to have to do, if that's okay with everyone, I'm going to have to stop, and then we're going to have to come back in. Is that okay? Because we've only got 40 minutes.
Tom, Ted,
yeah.
It doesn't stop after 40.
It doesn't? Okay,
No,
good.
Just keep going and see what happens.
Okay, so I got this warning. Okay, let's just keep going. All right,
Just
can we
keep
just go to Boo?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we go to Boo and Brett? So the question is, what do you like about longboarding, or why did you start? Did someone teach you, and why did you join, or what made you get interested in the Surfcoast Longboarders?
Yeah.
You start with, yeah.
With the longboarding, I was already on a 7.6, and Brett was like, the main, like, he helped me learn to surf and was like really good and what's that word? Encouraging with every aspect of my surfing. And so he suggested I get, like, next board, just go up a bit, get an 8-footer. And then, so I got an 8-footer my next board. And then I think we were traveling down the coast one day, and that's when Brett saw a notice in lawn surf shop window for one of the Surfcoast Longboarders competitions. It might have been Winter Classic.
Winter Classic it was,
yeah. So that was back in early 2000, maybe 2003 or 4.
Yeah.
And so Brett goes, oh, we should go to this. And so we just went down there, and we entered on the day, and we both surfed.
Yeah.
And it was really good fun. And similar to what Scott said, we just instantly fell in love with the club, and the people were so encouraging, and just actually seeing the level of surfing, we just thought, this is really good. And the boys were with us, and so then we all just joined. And it's just been a really good thing to be a member of, and yeah, it's just meant everything to us too. Like the boys have grown up with it. They've had mentors. We've all just got so much out of it.
Yeah.
So, did you want to?
Yeah, I actually rode the longboards in Williamstown in Port Phillip Bay as well, and sort of had some guys that actually live in Torquay. There's one of them is Mark Robbins, who surfs Torquay Point and Point Danger. He was actually a really good longboarder. So we had people like that we'd watch actually surf and had really good style. So later on, when the longboarding was coming back up again, and yeah, when we saw the notice, we thought we'd have a go at that. And Boo actually ended up surfing it by accident, really. I think on the Sunday morning of the Winter Classic, I think Laney said that, I think Emma was having the women's division, but I think that she was actually the women's division at the time. So and he asked whether if Boo would surf in the event. She'd never been in an event before. He said, would she surf in the event? Because then there was something, then there was a women's event going. So, yeah, that was sort of how that happened. And so Boo very nervously had a go out there, you know, so it was a bit of fun on the day. But, yeah, everybody was always really encouraging and to learn off all the, you know, you never stop learning. Every time you go out there, you sort of figure something else out. And by watching, you know, everybody in the club surfing, you know, you sort of take your own mental notes and go back and sort of go, yeah, that's how that worked, you know, and do it. But yeah, we've got, especially like I've really enjoyed our age division. Like I'm in the over 50s, but like all up above me have just been the surfing has been amazing, you know. So I've sort of I've really enjoyed taking little bits and pieces off everybody and trying to put it together. But yeah, It's been a really good experience. Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. Now I'm going to go to Anne and Steve and Betty. But I hope we've got enough time, and this is all up to you. It says 2 minutes. But so what I'm interested in, someone can start. What do you like about longboarding? How did you learn? Did anyone teach you? And why did you join the Surfcoast Longboarders? What do you get out of it?
I can't ride shortboards, so I have to ride longboards.
You can.
Oh, well, not very well. So, yeah, I just love the glide of the longboard because I can get into waves early. And I joined the club. I think I started with a Wild Women on the Water, and then thought, I think I met Lizzie, and we both decided we'd just join the club together. And it was, I think I wanted to join just to improve, and certainly it's really helped my surfing. And I agree with everyone else, just the encouragement and the positive vibes. It's just been fantastic. And now, you know, with the rest of the family joining, it's just been, yeah, love it. Thank you. So I won't keep talking in case we get cut off. Steve.
1 minute, Steve.
I rode Mal since about 1984. There was a couple of old longboards in the surf club when I was a kid, and me and a mate used to nick them and surf out the front on them all the time. And we'd never seen anyone ride a longboard ever. So we had no idea because there was no videos of longboarding back then. There was no Instagram or whatever. So you had no idea how anyone rode a mal back then. You'd only ever heard about it. And I guess as I've surfed for a fair while, I've ridden mals on and off a bit, but not a lot. And since I've been surfing again, Anne was going all the time, and I was either still not surfing because of my back, or I was on a stand-up. And so once I could surf again, I joined up, started going in the comps. just when the surf is good. And the thing that I like about the club is, it's really good and relaxed. I don't get into the full comp scene. I just get really put off by surf contests most of the time. And so I reckon it's just a really good bunch of people, and it's a good day out, and just good fun.
And it's been great getting Betty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a real joy for us to see her, catch some great waves. And she's got, normally she wouldn't have that chance. So.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to hand back to Glenn, and Glenn's got a couple more questions, I think.
Yeah. It's good to see the young bloke coming through too. We've got Katie Rao, and there's quite a few coming up, and just to see the beaming smiles, fantastic. Okay, we're going to do this really quickly, guys. Just a quick round robin. We'll go to each of you, and I want to ask you, what type of wave do you love surfing most? Like point break, beach break, reef break? We'll start with you, Scott.
My favourite wave, tea tree, Noosa.
Point. Okay. Riley.
Yeah, probably point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anne?
Yeah, point. I love tea tree. I love it when Steve's on a really good wave and I drop in on him.
Don't we all?
So, Steve, it won't be a point for you, obviously.
My favourite wave is Super Tubes at Jeffreys Bay. No question.
I can't wait to go to drop in on him.
Yeah, get him. Super Tube.
Boo?
Any wave that's appealing, actually. No, but I do like surfing Kennet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brett?
I like Crescent Head, actually, but anything that breaks longer than 7 seconds is pretty good. Yeah.
After all those years surfing in the bay, and you still like point breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
You've got to love those long, hollow Williamstown beach breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll find you a picture.
Yeah.
I'll find you a picture.
I've got that picture of you, really.
Yeah,
An old friend of mine who lives down the peninsula now used to surf down at Curram, and he said he got his first barrel in the bay, and he said it was brown and it stunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much sums it up.
And it's stuck in his ear.
Yeah. Okay, so just my final question to you all. Is there a surfer who you really love to watch, like a longboard surfer who you really, who's a god to you? And if so, why?
Probably Harley Ingleby. Just the way he's able to blend like the traditional with like the high performance longboarding.
Yeah, good one. My favourite's our local boy, Ben Considine. I reckon he's awesome, and he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, great. Anne?
Steve. There's so many I love. I love Ben too, and I think it's something about the attitude as well. Like, I think I love Emma as well, and it's the way she surfs, but it's how she handles herself in the surf as well. She's just great. She's fun. Like, you go in the water and you're always going to have fun when Emma's in the water. So, yeah, there's lots actually. I have to say, I love Steph Gilmore. She's not a longboarder, but just her style I love as well. I think if it looks easy, I love that.
Steve?
Oh, God. I wouldn't know where to start. But in terms of like traditional longboarding, I really just enjoy watching some of the guys from the 60s. Like, I love watching just Nat Young surfing from the 60s. And some of those old guys, Ted Spencer, Phil Edwards, all that crowd, just doing it without, because they had no idea about what performance surfing was. So there was like no corruption within the way they surfed. They just surfed longboards as longboards and didn't ever try to make them into shortboards. So I quite enjoy that.
Boo?
Yeah, there's so many good surfers, like in the club as well, like Emma and Lainey and all them. But just recently we were watching some old flicks, and there was Rel Sun, and she's just got a really graceful, beautiful style, and yeah, that's nice to watch.
Okay. Brett?
Yeah, I definitely Harley Ingleby. I really like that he can do everything on the board, sort of thing. But also, I think like I sort of like that era of the, you know, Mark Warren and you know, that sort of mid-length board sort of thing. You know, 7 to 8 foot sort of boards, and yeah, Mark Warren. You know, Mark Richards and Larry Blair, and sort of that era, really. That sort of was very...
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we could probably wrap it up, guys. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being part of this. It's really good. It's nice to keep the crowd together.
Thank you, Glenn and Ted, for doing it.
Thanks for organising. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
And can I just say one thing before we go, so that we've got it recorded on the internet and it goes to all the members. Anne says it's okay to drop in on Steve. There you go. Thank you and good night.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ted. Ted's doing all this recording and everything, and you know, it's like this has been a team effort getting these together, and it's been challenging trying to coordinate, get everyone at the one time and do this. So really appreciate it. It's great. Let's go down now at our history. We'll go on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So a quick thank you again to Brett Stammer's Rare Surf T-shirts. He's a really great sponsor of ours, and Holly and Sue at Looking Smart. Ted, is there anything you want to say?
No, I want to see everyone out in the water. That's all. So good to see you all, and thank you for coming. Yep. I'm going to stop it now, and you can have a look at it later. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.